Can you feel the weight of a single choice? A choice that ripples through the very fabric of life and death. I still taste the bitter blood on my hands, the acrid scent of charred flesh in my nostrils. I killed a king, you see, but it was the lesser of two evils. This was merely the beginning. A secret awaited me, buried within the ashes of a legacy. There it was, that letter. I could almost hear it whispering my name. You killed the king. Now save his legacy. The words weighed on me more than the blade I had plunged into Aerys II's heart. How could I save a legacy that was already reduced to ruins? Yet as I traced the map leading to the Stormlands, I felt a flicker of hope. Perhaps there, hidden in the depths, lay something worth saving. I rode alone, feeling the cold wind lash against my skin like 1,000 stinging lashes. The salty air burned my throat, but I pressed on. What awaited me at the end of my journey? The sound of waves crashing against the rocks echoed in my mind. A haunting melody of desperation, but deep down, I knew I could not turn back. The path was set. Fate was calling. The cave loomed before me, dark and inviting. I thought of the legends, the supposed destruction of Aerys Plus's hidden arsenal. Yet here I was, standing at the threshold of history. The moment I stepped inside, the air turned heavy, saturated with secrets, and there it was. A treasure trove of untouched wildfire, glimmering in the gloom, just waiting to be unleashed upon the world, and I thought I was alone, but there, huddled in the shadows, was a boy, a spectre of the past, marked by pain. His half-burned face told tales of survival. As he looked at me with wide, frightened eyes, I felt a pang of empathy. Could I really kill again? Was I destined to be the monster everyone believed me to be? Take him out, leave him to perish, or save him and risk everything? My hand trembled around my sword. In that moment of turmoil, I chose humanity over vengeance. I dropped my sword, the sound echoing like a death knell. I wasn't the cold-hearted Lannister everyone believed me to be. Instead of extinguishing a life, I chose to save one. As I dragged the boy from the cave, I could hear the whispers of wildfire behind us, the potential for chaos ready to erupt. I had traded one kind of destruction for another, but perhaps this was the path toward redemption. The boy shivered as we stepped into the light, the entrance collapsing behind us, sealing the horrors within. Returning to King's Landing felt surreal. The echoes of my decision haunted me like a shadow. I had changed. My journey had peeled back layers of my soul. When they asked where I had been, I smiled. A bittersweet twist of fate. At the king's funeral, and my own. Because in that moment, I realized I had buried the man I once was. Would you have made the same choice? Would you save a life at the cost of your own soul? What would you do if it were your child in the flames? In the shadows of power, what would you choose? But the story doesn't end there. The boy wasn't just a survivor, he was a witness to a world full of secrets. As I left that cave, I thought I had preserved life. But who would truly live with the weight of such choices? In the end, the fires of the past may always find a way to ignite once more. If this story haunts you as much as it haunts me, subscribe to uncover the next chapter of morality and power in a world where honor is often buried. In the shadows of death, I found life. The air in King's Landing was thick with tension, the whispers of the court wrapped around me like a shroud, and I could feel their eyes, piercing and judgmental. Each step I took echoed in my mind, a constant reminder of my betrayal and redemption. The weight of the boy's life rested heavily on my shoulders. He had seen too much. He knew too many secrets that could unravel the very fabric of our world. My thoughts drifted back to the cave, the glimmering amulets of wildfire, untouched and waiting. What if someone else found them? What if they sought revenge for Aerys, for the horrors he had inflicted? I felt the walls of the castle close in around me. I had stepped out of the shadows and into a new kind of darkness. Protecting the boy became my singular focus, my new purpose. He was a living reminder of my choice, a piece of my fractured soul that I had fought to save. But as the days wore on, the boy grew quiet, withdrawn. He had witnessed the brutality of life. He had survived the flames. I would catch him staring out at the sea, lost in thought, as if he were searching for something just beyond the horizon. I wanted to reach out, to comfort him, but in my heart, I knew there was only so much I could do. I was still Jaime Lannister, the Kingslayer, forever painted by my past. The court buzzed with rumors. They whispered of my sudden disappearance, of my odd demeanor upon my return. Cersei's eyes burned with suspicion, and Tyrion, ever the shrewd observer, seemed to sense my internal struggle. I could see the question in his eyes. What had I been doing? What had I discovered? There was no space for weakness in King's Landing. It was a game of survival, of wit and power, and I felt the stakes rise with every passing moment. One evening, while the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a fiery glow over the city, I found myself alone in the courtyard. The boy approached me, hesitant yet determined. "Why did you save me?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. I looked at him, searching for the right words. "Because," I started, the truth weighing heavily on my tongue, "I wanted to show you that not every choice leads to death. Sometimes we can save what remains." He tilted his head, confusion clouding his features. "But you killed a king. How is that not death?" His words struck a chord deep within me. Killing Aerys had been a necessary evil, but that didn't change the blood on my hands. I took a deep breath, steadying my thoughts. True, but sometimes we must make the hardest decisions to protect others. To save lives, we must bear the burden of our actions. The boy nodded, taking my words in, though I could see that understanding wouldn't arrive easily. It was a lesson learned in fire, in pain, and in sacrifice, but perhaps in time he would grasp the complexity of morality, the grey areas that often elude the simplicity of black and white. The days turned into weeks, and the lessons continued. I taught him how to defend himself, to wield a sword, and how to navigate the dangerous waters of court life. I saw a spark within him, the potential for greatness mixed with the scar of survival. He was resilient, a warrior in his own right, shaped by flames but unbroken. But as I prepared him for the world outside the castle walls, I couldn't shake the feeling of dread. The ghosts of the past were always lurking, and I could feel their breath on my neck, reminding me of the secrets I had buried deep within that cave. The wildfire was still there, waiting for someone to ignite it, and I feared what would happen if it fell into the wrong hands. One fateful night, I found myself called to a council meeting, a gathering of the most powerful and dangerous figures in the kingdom. As I entered the dimly lit hall, the atmosphere crackled with tension. Cersei sat at the head of the table, her gaze sharp and calculating. The tension was palpable, and I felt every eye in the room fall on me, judging, questioning. "Where have you been, Jaime?" she inquired, her voice silky yet filled with venom. I took a breath, steadying myself for the onslaught. "I've been reflecting, Cersei, considering our future." She leaned in slightly, her interest piqued. "Reflecting on what? The king is dead, and we must consolidate our power if we are to hold on to what we have." I felt a shift in the air, a predatory instinct rising among the council members. I had to tread carefully. We should ensure our enemies cannot rise again. Aerys had many secrets, perhaps there are others yet to uncover. The room fell silent, the weight of my words settling like dust. I could see the glimmer of intrigue in their eyes. They were hungry for power, and I had inadvertently fed their desires. "There are whispers," I pressed on, "of hidden arsenals, weapons left behind by Aerys. If we can find them first, we hold power over our enemies." Cersei smiled, a cold, calculating smile that sent a shiver down my spine. "Now that is a proposition worth exploring, don't you think?" The council erupted in murmurs, debating, strategizing, each member vying to gain an upper hand. I felt the heat of fear creeping up my chest. They were drawn to the very thing I had fought to bury, the wildfire, the secret that could destroy us all. As the meeting adjourned, I slipped into the shadows, my heart racing. I had ignited a new danger, and I could see it flickering in the eyes of my family. For a moment, I felt the thrill of power, but beneath it lay the chilling realization that I had released a monster that could consume us all. Would my choice to save a boy now lead to a greater catastrophe? The wildfire was no longer just a memory. It was a looming threat. I had to protect the boy, but how could I do that when I had thrown caution to the wind? As I walked through the dim corridors of the Red Keep, I couldn't help but wonder whether the shadows would be my salvation or my demise. The answers lay hidden within the depths of my choices, and I had to confront them before they consumed everything I held dear. If this story resonates with you and you want to journey deeper into the twists of fate, morality, and power, subscribe and follow along as we unravel the tangled web of destinies in a world where every choice echoes through time. In the shadows of death, I found life.